Welcome to Real Estate Success Partners. We're your hosts, Devin, Dubuc,
David, Nguyen,
and we're here to talk about how to have great success in any market. Today, guys, we've got a returning guest, Clint Richey. And Clint, you brought somebody along with you today. Who do we have here?
Absolutely. Thanks, Devin. Hey, so we brought Mr. Danny McElroy from the McElroy Team. And so, Danny, appreciate you stopping by
Absolutely.
and sharing
My
some
pleasure.
infinite wisdom in regards to what makes you so successful. So, you and I have had this conversation a couple different times. I think the biggest thing that I'm really want to know is what makes you so successful, but more importantly, how are you so efficient at your process? What do you do differently?
what do I do differently? Well, I don't know, man. I don't know what everyone else does. I'd love to tell you what I do differently. I can just tell you my style and kind of my story.
And let's talk about that because we actually dive into that a little bit. Typically, we want to know a little bit about where you came from, how you got in the industry, right?
Sure.
And how you built your team to where it is today. So let's start off with that one.
So when I was 23 years old, I got into new construction sales. I kind of kicked the door down because they didn't hire young people at the time, and
Right.
so I worked hard to get a position there. And then I was Rookie of the Year for a large,
Fantastic.
publicly traded home builder, and that was in 2003. Then 2004, I was the #1 salesperson in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth division.
That's
for them.
awesome.
I had an 8-year career in new construction where I sold 500 homes on site, and I was a top 1%er during that time
So
frame.
you've been hustling for a long time.
Yeah. I've the way my mom describes it is I'm a mover and a shaker. I just like to go, man. Just like to do a lot of things.
I
So-
can tell that. I can
A
tell
lot of
that. And I
energy.
think that's a great attribute to have, right? It's part of what makes you so successful.
So I did that through 2008 and into the meltdown, all the way into 2010. And in 2010, the national large publicly traded home builders became very difficult to work for.
Yeah.
I was successful through the whole thing. I sold very successfully. Never had any sales issues. So like you mentioned at the top of the podcast, success is the same in an up, down, or flat market.
That's right.
It's not different in any of them. It's just it's the same skill set and mindset. But the publicly traded builders were making it very difficult at the time. So I started doing research. I read a book that Gary Keller wrote called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
We've talked about that.
It's basically an MBA in running a real estate brokerage, a small boutique brokerage. And I got excited about that, started doing research. I spent the remainder of 2010 closing out my backlog with a large publicly traded builder here in DFW. And then I launched my business in 2011, and I was Rookie of the Year, again, my second Rookie of the Year
That's
in
fantastic.
2011 for the entire North Texas, New Mexico, Memphis region.
Well, 2011 was an interesting time, right?
That was
we
the
were
bottom.
coming off of, some really weird stuff on the mortgage side of the industry. 2011 is where things were starting to rebound, and you came in 2011.
Actually, that was the bottom because 2010 they were doing those first-time buyer down payment programs,
Right.
and then it just bottomed. And 2011 was brutal. Most people were
was.
leaving the business. There were more people leaving the business than ever at any time in history.
I think it's the closest we've had to what's going on, here in the Dallas market, for sure, the Texas market. We've had 40% of loan officers that didn't renew their license last year, right? So you go back and you look at historically, when did we see something like that before? It's in 2011, but Danny's having great success.
Yeah, I sold 50 houses that year, and
Killer.
They were looking at it like, man, how does he do that? And I was angry, and literally I was, because in my mind it was, man,
It wasn't enough.
If I only sell 50 houses a year, I'm going to go broke. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So, but the next year, God blessed us tremendously. In year 2, I sold 168 houses in resale.
Killer, man.
And year 3, we broke over 200, and I was the first team in our submarket history to break $1 million in gross revenue income, not dollar volume.
That's fantastic.
And then I joined Gary Keller's Top Agent Mastermind, and that's when I really started to learn business and build a team. At one point, I had 15 team members, and I learned a lot through that. I made a lot of mistakes.
We learn from our mistakes. I mean, that's, we all do it, right? We all do it.
But the biggest thing I learned in that time season was that is the difference between a transaction-based business and a service-based business. And so I broke the team down. As people left, I didn't replace them. And I spent about 4 years just building amazing systems. So to answer your question, Clint, I literally went through every aspect of the customer cycle from lead all the way to nurture after close. And I define checklists and touch plans, and we literally have a system for everything. It's all managed through our CRM, and we have roles on the team so that everybody knows what to do. Yep. We do a morning huddle at 9 a.m. every morning.
It's perfect.
We go through our backlog together and make sure everyone's on the same page, and our service is now world class. And because I don't try to get involved in my team members' jobs,
that's right.
What I do is the part that matters most to the clients, and that's the field stuff, that's the conversations, the decision-making stuff.
Manage the process.
That's right. And then,
we call it the acts of freedom. Yep. The acts of freedom. You take the members of your team, you give them each a role. You don't cross over on their role. They don't cross over on your role, but everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do.
And you hold them accountable to their role. Because human nature happens. So one of the biggest things I learned in building a team is I would whiteboard out the process. Yep. I'd delegate it. Okay, here's the checklist. Then I'd go sell a bunch of homes. I'd come back and they're doing it different. Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on here? We said this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, well, I just do this and this. No. Time out. Yeah. Time out. Stop. I set it up this way for a reason. So
that's right.
That's just human nature. I've learned that's not the people that are the problem. That's leadership. So if you're not constantly working with the team to make sure those standards are upheld, they drift, and it's just the way it works.
Well, there's a couple things there, right? Number one, the team needs to know what your statement of purpose is. They need to know what your core values are, and they need to know what their roles are, right? And at the end of the day, if you define those roles, you let them know what the vision of the team is, right? Where are we trying to take this thing? How are we going to get there? And what is each person going to do to make sure that happens? And then, like you said, have those accountability moments to make certain that everybody does have an understanding and is doing what they're doing. That's how you create great success, right?
And the other thing I learned, to answer your question about how am I successful, what makes me different, I learned that when you don't have a great vision, and the way I describe what you're talking about is what are we doing, why are we doing it, and what's my role. If everybody knows that, life's smooth and simple. But if you don't have those clearly defined, and somebody can't see all that when you're trying to attract people, you attract lower level people.
Correct.
So I found I attract who and what I am, not what I need and want.
That's right.
So I had to become that before I could attract better people. True. And once I did, got great team members. And now the service is world class. So to answer your question, Clint, specifically, we are highly skilled at providing world class customer experiences.
Right.
And that I don't delegate out the part that a lot of agents look at it from the perspective of how do I get as much off my plate as possible when they're trying to do volume.
Right.
And that creates a very transaction-based customer experience where they don't feel loved on and they don't have a relationship with the agent. And what happens is you can sell a lot of homes that way. I've done it that way. Mm-hmm. But they don't feel awesome about it and they don't go raving to all their friends and family about you. So what I learned was I got to really love on these people. So and when I learned that, because I had learned a lot at Keller Williams, tremendous amount there, but they set everything up based on how do I not have to do anything and get paid. And I found that's opposite of how the universe is designed by God. Absolutely. God designed the universe for the more people we serve and love on, the more money comes our way. Not me do nothing and get paid off of you for some obscure reason. So when I shift the business from transaction-based to service-based, it just made life so much better for the team members, the clients, all those things.
I love your values. I love what you're talking about, right? And that's 100% right. When it's not transaction based, when you care about the people that you're doing business with, and you stay in touch with them, right? You've got processes in place to make sure that once that transaction is done, it's not over, right? I can tell just by what you're saying, your team stays in touch with these people, right? Yeah, of course. You're doing follow up. You're letting them know that you're there, and you're trying to find, hey, can I help another family member or friend? So that we can come back and have a transaction with them and provide them that same great service.
I don't even do that. I should. Yeah. they just call. They just do.
Well, it's because you guys are doing such an amazing
But I should.
job.
I should do that. No, that'll be the next step that we build systems for.
No, it's great you say that, Danny, because I've had the pleasure of dealing with a couple of your team members. Man, your transaction coordinator, one of the sweetest ladies I've ever met. So when you're talking about when you have a plan and a process in place, you are attracting the higher level talent, the people, because the last thing that anybody wants to do when they go into a job is go, okay, what do I do? And there's no clear-cut, defined plan or process.
Right.
And what we've all learned collectively together, in the years that we've been in the mortgage business is processes and plans always outperform talent, right? And skill, right?
And then if you add talent on top of them, your competition can't.
And that's where you scale to the next level.
You create a winning organization.
Yeah, that's where you scale to the next level where no one else can compete, right?
Yeah.
And so David, we've talked to hundreds of realtors. What's the commonality of the most successful realtors that we talk to?
They care. They care about their customers. Yeah. Customer experience is number one.
Love on people.
Yeah, it's not matter. I don't
people
know any
matter for most.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that chases the green or the transaction of money that's highly successful. It's about far lower.
Yeah, they don't last. The business burns them out.
Yeah. They may be successible for a short period of time, but to have that long lasting, scalable success marathon.
Yeah, the marathon.
You got to have that relationship. And so we were talking about we joked earlier we're going to try to make you cry on the podcast, right?
I don't think it's happening, guys.
No,
I don't think it's happening.
But
low odds.
Yes. But
low odds, bro.
But the realtors that we've had that have gotten extremely emotional. Their relationship realtors.
The passion.
Just like you said, they have a passion of helping people and they love on people, if I can use your words.
Sure.
They love on people. They walk them all the way through the process from the beginning to the end. And more importantly, they partner with lenders, title companies, like-minded folks that do the same thing. Yeah. So, man, it's awesome that you share that with us. So,
he touched on something I want to ask.
Sure,
you mentioned a CRM system, and I do think when you're working, especially when you're working with a large group of consumers and you've got a team, having a centralized database to be able to stay in touch with your people as well as communicate with your team is important. Yeah. What CRM do you use, and how's that built out?
So I use the only CRM in real estate that guarantees success.
Okay.
If you use it, it's called Brivity. It's founded by a guy named Ben Kinney. I met him in Gary Keller's Top 100 Agent Mastermind.
Fantastic.
He used to take a top 100 agents nationwide and put us in a room together quarterly. Yeah. And Ben was really elite, man. He was like, he didn't really belong in there. He belonged in like a separate group of like 5 guys. Yeah. The guy's just brilliant. And he started the CRM out as just a basic to do a few things to fill gaps that his team needed that he was running in Bellingham that there were no technology products for, and then it's evolved over the years and just gotten better and better. What I primarily started using it for was for what are called auto plans, so automatic follow up and system based plans for our transactions for when we take an incoming listing and then once it goes under pending to a contract to close. So the way my mind works, I'm a system and process oriented guy. So I need to be able to make a commitment to a customer. Hey, this is what you can expect, and then I don't have to think about it. Yep. The way my mind works is, if I even have to think about it, that means it's on my plate not on the team members. So I found the only way I could actually have the expectation I set for the customer occur from my team without me involved was to have an automated system that ensured that I could check on and log into without talking to anybody. Yeah. And Brivity has a phenomenal plan for that. So we have it so down to a science where when we complete one transaction, it automatically triggers emails, text messages, and loads the next tasks that are coming up, and we constantly tweak those very gradually. The standard we use for that is my team often wants to change stuff because they're always, what about this? What about this? So I always remind them, listen, if we have a problem one time, we just solve it.
That's right.
If we have a problem a second time, now we're paying attention. Yeah. The third time, we adjust our system so we never see it again. Yep. And that's how we run it.
So it sounds like you operate under a very similar system we do. It's a Japanese business principle called Kaizen. Right. And it's basically centered around always looking for ways to eliminate redundancies in your business so that you can consistently grow and adapt to new market conditions. Right. Yeah. And also utilization of the CRM system. We do the same thing here. Right. So I do all the back end programming for our CRM system. And it's the same way. When these guys are out and they're working through the CRM system, communicating with consumers, the way I present it to them is, you guys are the NASCAR drivers, I'm the pit crew. Right. Yeah, yeah. So you're out there on the road, you're running into things and you're going, hey, look, I need a little little help with this or a little help with that, or, we might need to fine tune this. They're coming to me and we're going, hey, is that necessary? We're putting it to a vote and saying, yeah, you know what? It is necessary. Let's make those adaptations and let's change.
See, you're kind. There's no votes. My organization's a dictatorship, bro.
Right. Yeah. Hey, but you know what? When it works, it works.
I used to do that when I had 14 team members and everybody has an opinion.
Well,
not all of those opinions are based on what's best for the organization and the customer.
Right. You're 100% right.
And ultimately, what matters most is it has to be duplicatable and repeatable.
You're right.
And if it puts undue pressure on my administrative team or on the sales team, then it's not going to work.
Correct.
And sometimes there's some things people don't want to do, or it's laborious, but it's what's necessary for the customer.
That's right.
Tough. That's how it is.
We call it sweat. Same way every time, right? Same way every time. And we train our staff members to do the job the same way every time. So that way it doesn't matter if I'm working with Vu or I'm working with Clint or I'm working with somebody else in the team. They all know what to do, how to do it, and we're all doing it exactly the same way.
And then when you don't have to think about the process or the system, you can love on the customer at a higher level.
Exactly.
So that's the key.
Yeah, you keep your focus on the right thing, the right priority.
Hey, Dan, we have a lot of realtors out there in our audience. I'm going to tell you the number one question they're going to ask. Man, what are you doing to generate leads? That's always the secret sauce. What's the marketing plan? What's the lead source? Obviously, you're doing high volume. We're not talking onesies and twosies or 10s and 20s. We're talking high volume.
So let me answer that in two parts. So I started out and I used to do what I called a builder move up program. I used to do contingency management for builders, and that was a business to business level where I called all my buddies in the industry because I'd come out of that industry, and I said, hey guys, I know y'all have this I know you'll have people walking in your model homes. They're like, I love your house, but I got one to sell. Yeah. And they go, but they don't have an agent. So I told them, look, give them my card. I'll manage your contingencies so you don't have to have any contingency risk.
There you go.
And they'll have awesome service, and I'll get a new client. Well, I did that for the first 10, 12 years of my business, and I transitioned out of that because that business got very difficult after the pandemic because the builders became very hard to work with. So I stopped working that side of the business because I now have so many past clients.
That's right.
We've sold almost 3,000 homes. So so to answer your question, directly. When I was a brand new agent and I was getting hard started, I literally did everything. I came into the office at 7 a.m. I did script practice with a script partner, and I would write my scripts down 5 times. Then I would call my script practice partner, and he and I would go through them. And I learned the skill of the business by working. Then I'd get on the phones, and I would pound the phones, and I would call everyone I know in my contact list, and I'd say things like, hey guys, it's Danny. I know you knew me from New Home Sales, but I've started a real estate business. I'm working with the very best. I know.
Sounds familiar, right, guys?
I was going to say, is he in our meetings every day or what?
But go, Danny. Keep going.
And I'm here to serve you. And that started real slow. So my first year was a bad year. So to answer your question, this is directed to agents.
Yes.
So what agents need to hear, what's real important for them to understand when you're new in the business or when you're not yet established with a huge database like I have. I'm very blessed with that now.
Absolutely.
Been in the business a long time.
You earned that.
So I'd rather tell you how I earned it than what I do now because that won't help most agents. Right. Yeah. So what will help most agents is to understand that there's basically 3 prerequisites to winning in real estate, and anybody can learn these, but they take a lot of effort and they take a lot of commitment. The first thing and the most important is confidence. And I don't mean to be like a Bible thumper telling you guys.
No, take your Bible hat off here.
But listen, this is the way I view business it comes from a very biblical point of view. Yeah. I see business as serving other people. And the more you do that at a high level, the more business comes your way and the more successful you become. So if you don't have confidence, or the religious way they'd say it would be faith, if you don't believe I'm going to deliver great service to them, and you don't trust in your own heart yourself, this business is going to be extremely hard for you and you're going to wash out fast. Not because you can't do it, but because they can sense that energy from you. And if they don't sense, hey, I'm going to work for you hard and I know I can get to what you want done, if they don't feel that energy in their heart, and they can't put their words on this, and neither can you, but if you don't have that and that enthusiasm doesn't come across, they're not going to risk their largest financial transaction with you.
I was just about
That's
to say,
number one.
the largest transaction of their life.
It's a big deal.
A lot of
It's where they're
confidence.
going to come home from work every day, where they're going to raise their family, they're going to have their Christmas memories, all these things. This has a lot of weight to them. It's not a small deal. A lot of people get in real estate and they don't have that, they don't take it that serious.
That's right.
So that's confidence.
They're in it for the paycheck.
That's right.
Yeah.
The second thing you've got to have is contribution, and the biblical word for that is love. And I don't say love like I love you, man, like we're buddies, or like I love my wife. The definition I use for contribution and love is Charles Finney's definition. Love is to act and will towards the highest good of the other. And I see so many agents chasing a commission, chasing a sale, looking at, I want to get a sale. No, 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 no. You got to be looking for someone to help and love on and serve. Find people who need a solution, and how am I going to help them get their solution? And when you really are all about your customer, man, you're not going to have any problems with leads. The last thing you need is the skills, and that's the biblical word for that would be diligence. The scripture says diligence is man's precious possession. Diligence is showing up, doing the work. And when I say doing the work, agents think of the work as showing houses, listing houses. That's not the work. The work is learning the skills, learning the market, learning how it all works.
That's right.
When you do those three things, it starts slow and builds, and then it explodes. So that's what I did to start with. And when I was starting, I applied that energy and that enthusiasm to every lead gen strategy I could think of. I knocked on doors. I did open houses. I called for sale by owners. I called expireds. I called all my past clients. I called all my builder buddies. I did everything I could think of.
Yep.
And then a couple of them shook out and became mine that I got good at, and that's what I built my business on. So that's the starting point to build a good, solid database.
Incredible.
That's how you start.
It's incredible. You know, and I'm going to stop you there because we host meetings every day, and I talk about this all the time. And sometimes I'll play videos from people that are very passionate about what they do, and I'll stop the video and say, "Hey, do you believe him?" Right? Guys, do you believe Danny?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You believe Danny because you know what? He means it.
Yeah.
He means it. This is what he provides to his consumers, and that's what makes him so amazing, right? Is that he's always looking for ways to provide love and energy and strategy and conviction, and he's doing it for all the right reasons.
Yeah, there's a big passion.
There's no question about it.
There's a huge
right?
passion.
The other question is that I like to ask these guys is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you want to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to put forth to make that happen, right? And there's no question, Danny, I can tell if there was a 100 out of 10, right? You're 100 out of 10 because you're willing to do whatever it takes to find great success. And when we talk, guys, about finding success in any market, this is what we're talking about, right? That passion that's behind it, right? That person that cares that much to make sure that whatever it is that they're doing, they're putting that kind of effort behind it because they're going to find success in anything that they do.
Yeah,
so,
and when the customer matters more than anything, I mean, I'm never
100%.
I'm never gonna have commission breath.
Yeah.
Which I see occasionally in the business. And that's just the nature of any business. But the customer's always, their best interest is always going to come first.
It's amazing.
And when you behave that way long enough, you end up building a large past client database.
That's right.
Of relationships that know you, like you, and trust you.
That's it.
Now, to answer your question, all I work with are people who know me, like me, and trust me.
Like-hearted, like-minded.
I don't work cold leads. I don't go knocking on doors. I don't do any of that stuff I started out as, because back then I didn't have a database, but now I do.
Well, you've earned that right.
So because of that, I have world-class systems and I have a great team. And what I found is when you work with people who know, like, and trust you, everything goes better. Everything goes smoother. And so now I just work my database, and we're in the process of launching plans to market to them better. So the answer is we send them a monthly market report. We call them quarterly. When I say we, one of the team members just touches in. Hey guys, how's life? How you enjoying the home? Anything we can do for you? And then we send them a monthly postcard. And basically the postcard is branded so they don't forget our name.
Yep.
And that's all we do, man.
Hey, Danny, you know what? We
really
follow a system also. You know, we have a real-time referral program. Has Clint told you about that?
He has.
Yeah, it's same thing. You know,
we love on our consumers. That's what
we love
do.
on our consumers too.
We reach out to our borrowers once a quarter. We let them know that we're here. We tell them thank you for doing business with us, right? Yeah. And we ask them if they can help. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, hey, do you want a new loan? Or hey, can we just help you with a question about your escrow? Or hey, is there any question you have about, you know, home buying in general, right? But then we always end every call with Clint or David. Do you want to? How do we end the call?
Hey, do you have any friends, family members, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance?
See, that's where we part ways. That's where we do it different.
Yeah.
So the and I used to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned getting in the business.
Yeah,
That's what Keller Williams taught us.
Sure.
But I learned a new method that's even better. So
Let's hear it.
So from my point of view, it's even better when you have a database. Now, when you're getting started, this won't work. But when you have a large database,
Which we do.
I learned. I read a new book called Ninja Selling. Brilliant freaking book. And basically, there's a section in it that talks about pursuer versus attractor. So if I go pursue someone, they naturally want to run.
That's right.
So I no longer ask, do you know anyone thinking to buy, sell, or real estate? They know me, like me, trust me. I just stay in touch and I stay top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have to ask. And I'm no longer pursuing, which puts pressure on them to give me a referral. Instead, I just stay in touch and they just call.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I do different.
I love it. I love it.
Well, and obviously what you're doing has made you successful, right? So at the end of the day, you've got that great relationship with the consumers. They trust you. They're going to send you business because they know when they work with Danny McElroy and his team, the level of service and commitment that they have, right?
Yep.
So they know that they're getting taken care of. And their friends and family are going to have that same, experience, right?
Sure.
So touch on your team real quick. You talk about the team.
Yep.
How many people do you have on the team, and what does each one of those roles look like?
So there's 4. So we have at any given time, the roles change based on the volume of the business and the type of business. So nobody's position is fixed. I learned a lot of things like that. You hire someone as a transaction coordinator and they say, oh, that's the only thing I'll do.
Right.
No, we don't do that. You're a team member. At this point, this is your role.
That's
but
right.
we could transition activities based on workload and volume.
100%,
So
100%.
right now I have a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, an office manager / like executive assistant,
Gotta have one.
and a marketing coordinator, and that person will do just about everything for me. If I'm booked and we need to show a house, she'll show houses.
That's great.
She handles office operations, all those things. The
Absolutely.
transaction coordinator is transaction to close, is under contract to close. Listing coordinator is listing taken to under contract.
It sounds very familiar, right, guys? We run a very similar system. We have client concierge. We have our pre-approval specialists. We've got our back-end loan processors. We've got an account executive. And we also have a manager on the back end of the operations team that makes sure that everything gets closed on time.
Man, we must have gone to the same school.
I'm telling you, brother. It goes back to that. I said it 3 times. I'll say it again. Like-hearted, like-minded, right? And that's why we like to have people like you on the show because, again, we don't want to just talk to anybody. And we don't want to just introduce our followers to anybody. We want to introduce them to people that are like-minded and like-hearted, that are business professionals that truly are having great success and doing it for all the right reasons, right? And that's what you're doing, brother. Man, it's fantastic. Clint, you were going to ask something?
No, I was just saying that was why, you and I have talked several times. I think the first time I talked to you, you were coming back from vacation when we were doing I was doing my little Tuesday update on our transaction. And you were like, man, I'm sorry. I'm getting ready to hop on a plane. Can I hit you when I land? I was like, sure, whatever. And so, and then checking in with you every week, I learned something a little more and a little more and a little more. And then, we talked about, my family's, role with Keller Williams. And I may have a couple of those millionaire real estate agent books in my house.
I think you got a case of them in your dad's,
I got a couple,
in the back
I got
of
a couple
garage.
cases, actually.
That's a great book. I've read it probably 20 times, man.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
it is a great book. But that was why I had to get you on here, man. I wanted you to tell the story because your mentality, your mindset, your processes, your procedures, your faith, your religion, your conviction, it all aligns with what we do here. And so I was like, man, I got to get this guy on here, man.
Pretty cool how we met. So I went through the process with one of my past clients, and he calls. We had called him on our quarterly calls, and he's like, "Yeah, we're kind of thinking about moving." And so the way our system works is my team calls them all, and then flags a task for me.
That's right.
For anything that trickles up. And so I called Kurt and said, Kurt, I heard there's a house you like, man. Let's set it up. When y'all want to see it, And he's like, well, I don't really know. I said, what can it hurt to look, man? Why not? We go look at the house. We walk through the process, and I'm like, all right, man, I got a lender for you. He's like, oh no, I got a lender, and that was this guy.
That's cool.
And as an agent, I'm always thinking,
well, no, what am I going to get?
Who are you attaching
It's a box of chocolates. Here we go.
and I try to flip him to my lender, and he won't flip. So I'm like, all right. So this guy sends me the approval letter, and then we're always cautious with
you have to be
with lenders we don't have a relationship with. And then this guy was freaking awesome, man. Process was smooth. was perfect. It was very, very well done. I was impressed.
I appreciate that.
And I told the client that too. I said, man, this guy was great. Thanks for the intro.
So here's the deal. You're talking about all these amazing things that you do. When we did the interview, you said, hey, what is my superpower? You said, what'd you say? Let's hear it again. What was the superpower? I love it. I think this is a good one.
Well, I only work about 20 hours a week and sell 100 plus houses a year.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And when I say work, let me define what that means, because I don't track when I answer my phone. And I answer my phone anytime it rings. Now, that sounds bizarre. Some people are like, oh, that's crazy.
If you're in this industry, that's part of it, comes with the job.
Yes, but being responsive is what customers view as good service. So,
Absolutely.
So what I mean by work is I'm in my office working 20 hours a week. That doesn't count stuff in the field, but I spend about 4 hours a day, about 5 days a week in the office, and that's it. And I don't when you have great systems and some weeks I'm in the office 3-4 hours. I'm just there for the huddle with the team.
That's it.
And I'm out and doing other things.
But let's be honest, you're always thinking about the business.
Of course.
You're always thinking about your consumers.
And that frees me up to when somebody calls and they want to see a house. Yeah, let's go now. I have an appointment at 3, but I'm available at 5. So I'm always.
This goes back to the old adage of like, if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
It's not work for you.
That's right. So how do I do that? How do I only work 20 hours a week? Well, I implemented that Millionaire Real Estate Agent book on the leverage side of it over time.
There's a secret, guys. There's a secret.
So here, that's a great. But here's the thing that I've learned over the years. Most agents don't have a business mind like I do. Yeah. They're not a weirdo like me. They don't wake up
the best kind of weirdo, Danny.
Yeah, they don't wake up thinking about how to build systems and checklists, and they don't think, and they're also not. They're either great salespeople or they're great systems people. They usually aren't the two. So what I've discovered is if agents could plug into a system like that, they might see value in it. So the next thing I'm going to do is
that's education, though, right? You didn't just come out. You just didn't wake up one day and go, "Oh, I need to make systems." At some point in your life, you viewed and put a emphasis on systems and processes and saw how they work and go, what? That's brilliant.
I learned it in the home building industry before I got into real estate. I came out of the corporate world.
You're educating yourself all the time. I can tell just by what we're talking about.
Yeah, man, I love to read. I love to study. So the next thing we're going to do, you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to tell you.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The next thing I'm going to do is all these systems I've spent all this time building over the past few years, as soon as I finish the database marketing plans and I get them duplicatable and repeatable, I'm going to offer these same systems to other agents in our brokerage. I'm going to add the team again to where they can use my staff.
That's right.
And we'll handle the marketing of their database. We'll handle the customer service. And all they have to do is love on their people and sell.
Sounds really familiar.
That's coming next. But I got to, once again, I'm going to have to build checklists and systems for that.
I told you like
this guy. Do we have the same business plan, Danny? I love it, man. I love it. Well, I'm going to touch on something that we did, and we are getting close to the end here, but talk a little bit about your free time and your family life, right? At the end of the day, you got things that you do outside of work, right?
Sure. I have a boss. Her name's Karen.
I think a lot of people have a boss named Karen.
Yes. And I know Karen's like a joke type of thing now, but that's actually her name, and she's super sweet and she's super cool. But I have an awesome wife. I'm a very blessed man. I married my high school sweetheart.
That's amazing.
My son's a freshman at Dallas Baptist University.
That's fantastic.
My daughter's a junior at Fort Worth Christian, and so about to have kids out of the house. Yeah. And I also recently got roped
into
success. Yes, man. God's been good to us over the years. Right. But another thing I just did, I chuckle when I say this, I invested in a coral reef importing and wholesale business. So like saltwater aquariums.
Tell us how that we've talked about this, so tell me how that's going.
It sounds like you got some passion behind this one too. Yeah, man. Right?
So, I'm kind of a dork. Anything I do, I kind of do it full force. But during the pandemic, I built a custom 6 foot wide, 200-gallon saltwater aquarium in my home.
Do you swim in that thing?
Good, man. It's about the size of a bathtub, I guess. Yeah, a couple hundred gallons. But I built a custom filtration system, and it grows corals from all over the world.
That's
Indonesia,
amazing.
Australia, Vietnam. And in building that and getting into the hobby, my brother-in-law owns a coral importing business, and he hasn't really, it's like a hobby business to him.
Yeah.
So I basically approached him and said, hey, man, how about if we add some value and things you don't want to do? And I got another buddy that's into the hobby as well, one of my clients, actually.
Very cool.
And we both invested to improve the facility and to ramp up sales. So we're working on that right now.
So another project turn into a business model, right?
Absolutely.
You just can't stop being successful.
Well, as expensive as that hobby is, man, I just can't stomach all the money without making some.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
Hey, something tells me that if Danny was like building model airplanes, he'd turn it into a business.
I don't think there's any question about it. Right? Well, one reason I wanted you to touch on the family too is we always talk about success, right? And there's success in business, but there's a success at home as well, right?
Sure.
And family is a big part of that. And at the end of the day, what are you doing with your success, right? Are you just doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for somebody else? And what we found is most successful people have successful people behind them.
Sure.
And they're creating successes for their family life. And here you are, you've got 2 amazing kids who are graduating or about to graduate, right?
Yep.
And you've got a wonderful wife behind you that keeps it all together. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Couldn't do it without her.
I love it. Clint, did you have something else?
No, I mean, I'm just thank you for coming on, man. Sharing your story, man. Because
wisdom,
it's
wisdom.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
Yeah,
That's really
this guy
it
gets
is.
it. 100%.
And much continued success to you, man. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you along that journey, we're all about it. We'd love to be a part of it. We'd love to.
I'd love to meet the team, man.
Yeah. We love
behind
to
Danny McElroy, right?
Danny McElroy team, right?
That's another podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Danny, is there anything that we should have asked you today that we didn't?
No, man. Just the source of my success is our Creator in heaven. So I give all glory and honor to my Lord and Jesus Christ in heaven. So that's it.
I'm glad you threw that in there.
You bet. My pleasure.
So let's get a little shameless plug in here. If folks want to find you, if they're looking at buying a house, in what areas do you service again?
Man, I cover the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I know that sounds like a large area, but because I sold new construction all over, I have a really good grasp on the market all over the place.
Absolutely.
So if you look at my profile, you'll see a heat map that shows sales literally all over the place in DFW. So there's no limit. If it's in our multiple listing service, I can pull the data and sell there.
And I can tell you can trust Danny and his team.
Yeah, I'm a data guy. So if there's something I'm not sure about, I'll tell you. I'll be honest.
I love that.
So I don't deviate outside of residential real estate. I don't do farm. I don't do commercial. I don't do anything that's not our bread and butter.
You stay on what you know, and you do it great.
Yeah, so if you just Google the McElroy Team, you'll find me online.
So the McElroy Team, and that's it, McElroyteam.com. And what is there a good phone number for the team if somebody wants to reach out to you?
Man, even better, you can call my personal cell phone.
I like it.
I answer my phone. The number's 817-501-5959.
There it is. Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. And maybe we can have you back at some point in time, but we do got to get this thing wrapped up. We can't stay here all day. Clint, brother, great to have you on again as well.
Appreciate it.
If the folks out there want to find Clint Richey and your team, how do they get in touch with you, Clint?
Yeah, thanks, Devin. It's RicheyMortgageTeam.com. It's RICHEY, mortgageteam.com. And if you need to reach me, I answer my cell phone as well, 972-679-1028. That's 972-679-1028.
I love it. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you're looking for some true professionals, people that know how to give you the right advice and put you in the right position and care, right? And absolutely care. You're going to want to call Danny and his team. And if you're looking for mortgage, Clint's a great resource. Clint and I have been working together. We've had the pleasure of doing business for over a decade.
Yeah, wow.
And Clint's absolutely fantastic what he does. David, anything you want to throw out there, brother, before we get this thing wrapped up?
No, I think we learned a lot today.
Danny,
man, you threw us out some knowledge. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure,
absolutely,
guys.
Absolutely, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and call this one a wrap. So we're your Real Estate Success Partners. I'm Devin Dubuc.
I'm David Nguyen.
And thank you guys for stopping by. If you want to check us out, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can check us out at www.realestatesuccesspartner.com. Again, that's realestatesuccesspartner.com. And we'd love if you follow, and we love those 5-star reviews. So until the next time, we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.